With the period of moonless nights soon ending, and clear skies predicted over central and southern Germany on March 8th, Harris decides to switch his focus. Nuremberg. The city of Nazi Party rallies will be attacked. An important political target, Nuremberg is also a major communication hub in the region connecting north-south and east-west rail traffic. Among the 18 aluminum, engineering, and armaments works listed in Nuremberg are the MAN works producing tanks and diesel engines, the G. Müller works producing special ball bearings for magnetos, and the Fondwerks producing heavy vehicles and artillery tractors. Nuremberg lies deep within Germany and will soon be off limits to attacks by Bomber Command as the nights shorten with the arrival of spring. An attack here will also force the Germans to keep flak and night fighter forces committed in southern Germany, well away from the Ruhr. Crews who find their names on the battle order for the night gather in their briefing huts to hear where they will be sent. John Searby from 106 Squadron is among them, flying his 7th bombing raid in just 14 days. In order to bypass most of the known German defenses, the bomber stream is routed south below the night fighter boxes in Belgium. 2 turning points are plotted, one at Caillou on the French coast, the other at Speyer in Germany, which will be marked by Pathfinders. The routes preclude the use of twin-engine Wellingtons, leaving 335 Lancasters, Halifaxes, and Stirlings to deliver the attack. Nuremberg lies outside the range of Obo, so the city will be marked by Pathfinder aircraft equipped with H-2S ground mapping radar, so-called Y aircraft. The Y aircraft will drop yellow indicators at Speyer to aid in navigation for the main force bombers. Then, prior to 0 hour, 5 Y aircraft will lay sticks of illumination flares across Nuremberg so 9 other Y aircraft can attempt to visually mark Nuremberg city center, the aiming point, with green indicators. If the aiming point is obscured by haze, then the Y aircraft will attempt to bomb using their H-2S radar, dropping red indicators to signal they are conducting a blind bombing attack. Pathfinder aircraft without H-2S will act as backers up, attacking at intervals of 1 minute and dropping their green indicators on the aiming point if it is illuminated by flares, or at the center of the already burning indicators if it is not. The 335 main force bombers will once again attack in 3 waves, with 88 Halifaxes bombing between 23:19 and 23:30 hours, 53 Stirlings attacking between 23:25 and 23:35 hours, and 157 Lancasters attacking between 23:30 and 23:45 hours. The crews are instructed to aim at the middle of the burning indicators irrespective of color, and to not rely on visual identification of ground detail. 4 Obo Mosquitoes will launch Nuisance raids on the Ruhr, and 16 Wellingtons from 6th Group will each drop mines off the Frisian Islands. With the briefings concluded, tense crews steel themselves for the task ahead. Kit on, pre-flight routine and good luck rituals completed, with green lights flashing from control towers, the bombers rolled down the runways for Germany. Crossing the French coast, the thick cloud cover over the channel rapidly disperses inland, resulting in clear skies all the way to Nuremberg. The crescent moon dips below the horizon behind the bombers, creating exceptionally dark conditions which will help conceal the bombers during their long journey over Germany. It's not until the bomber stream reaches the numbered fighter boxes of the Kammhuber line that the first German night fighters are encountered. Despite RAF radio jamming, several night fighters are guided by ground controllers to the outbound bombers, and 2 Stirlings and a Halifax fall to fighters of Nachtjagdgeschwader 4. A 35 Squadron Halifax narrowly avoids becoming a 4th victim.
Our aircraft was attacked by a Ju-88 from starboard quarter below at approximately 250-yard range. Enemy aircraft opening up with a long burst of cannon and machine gun fire. Our aircraft went into a corkscrew and the enemy aircraft got in a second burst of the starboard quarter, and our rear gunner got in a short burst at approximately 150-yard range. Further attacks by enemy aircraft were successfully avoided.
Encountered next are the named boxes patrolled by fighters of Nachtjagdgeschwader 101. Jamming of Freya radars and German radio communications is particularly effective here, as the night fighters of NJG 101 do not have Liechtenstein airborne radar on their fighters. Several interception attempts occur, but NJG 101 shoots down no outbound bombers. As planned, Pathfinder aircraft mark a point near Speyer with yellow indicators, and a Stirling is shot down by a fighter of NJG 4 in the area. Searchlights and heavy flak batteries are encountered by the aircraft passing by several major cities. Arriving over the target, the Pathfinders find that although Nuremberg is free of clouds, the moonless sky and hazy ground conditions reduce visibility on the ground to almost nothing. An estimated 100 searchlights are active in or around Nuremberg. The Pathfinder marking plan begins to come apart as only 5 of the 14Y aircraft have arrived on time. Almost half the Pathfinder H2S sets are now not working, while many sets that are working do not return proper radar images due to insensitivity. As a result, insufficient numbers of illumination flares are dropped by the flare lane Y aircraft prior to the start of the attack, making visual identification of the aiming point by following Pathfinder aircraft extremely difficult. Many of the Halifaxes of the first wave are also late, so just 22 bombers are on hand to bomb on the first target markers. During the first 10 minutes, target indicators fall on outlying villages 2 to 3 miles north of the aiming point, and on a forest 4.5 to 7 miles southeast of the aiming point. The mix of green and red indicators confused many backers up who opt to remark the red indicators. However, due to the late arrival of many of the first wave Halifaxes, these errant markers burn out before they draw too many bomb loads. In the following 10 minutes, Pathfinder marking improves, with new indicators going down 1.5 to 2 miles northwest of the aiming point and 3.5 miles south-southeast. This coincides with the arrival of most of the attacking force, which drops their bombs on or around these markers. As the last wave of Lancasters arrive, bombing accuracy increases, with 2/3 of bombs falling within 3 miles of the aiming point. John Searby, flying amongst this wave, reports,
"Thick haze, visibility fair, cluster of green TIs in sight. Bombed from 17,000 feet at 23:30 hours, and own bombs seemed to burst. Several large fires were noted, by then appeared to be rather scattered. Flak was fairly heavy in barrage form. No fighters were seen."
Despite early scattered marking by the Pathfinders, later more accurate marking and the late arrival of the main force results in a raid that becomes more accurate as time goes on. Night fighters are seen and 4 crews report approaches but no combats. 2 Lancasters are lost over Nuremberg, one being seen coned by searchlights and destroyed by heavy flak. The other Lancaster likely falls victim to flak as well. By midnight, the last of the bombers leave the burning city. Turning for home, the bomber stream retraces the path it took to Nuremberg. Crossing over Speyer, searchlights and flak are encountered. Nachtjagdgeschwader 101 again fails to shoot down any bombers due to jamming. Crossing back through the numbered boxes, a 35 Squadron Halifax is shot down by the crew of Oberleutnant Ludwig Meister for his 7th victory. His onboard radar operator recounts the attack.
"At a range of 1300 meters, I acquired a target. Draw closer to it. No change in the Liechtenstein set, the dummy is flying very sedately. At 400 meters range, Oberleutnant Meister can see the enemy machine. My pilot puts a burst into it from rudder stern and promptly moves off to port engine. The dummy's tail turret is burning and the fire is spreading further along the fuselage. The second and third attacks enlarge the fire and the parachute whizzes past our wing. The fourth attack finally produces the explosion. Burning, the hostile plane dives into the depths. Impact on the ground, and now we must go home. Our time's up."
Surviving bomber crews report 29 approaches and 6 combats with night fighters, and 3 bombers return to base with fighter damage. 2 Sterling gunners each claim the destruction of a night fighter. Nuremberg suffers significant damage. Photo reconnaissance pictures show that though the city center has avoided serious damage, concentrated bombing on the suburbs have hit many important war industries. The Siemens Work is badly hit, as is the MAN Works producing Panther tanks for the upcoming Kursk offensive. Aluminum, radio, gas works, and chemical producers are hit, as well as railway yards and military barracks. The old city center of Nuremberg suffers 2 areas of severe devastation, and several hundred residential buildings are destroyed. The mine laying effort is also successful, with 11 bombers successfully laying 22 mines around the Frisian Islands. RAF analysis of the raid shows that of the 335 aircraft dispatched, 30 turned back due to various reasons, and 294 claimed to attack the primary target. Of this, 47% placed their bombs within 3 miles of the aiming point. 5 Group Lancasters flying in the final wave are able to take advantage of the more accurate later marking and deposit 62% of their ordnance within 3 miles of the aiming point. None of the mine lane bombers nor Obo Mosquitoes launching nuisance raids on the Ruhr are lost. However, 8 RAF bombers failed to return from the attack on Nuremberg, 2.4% of the force dispatched. 5 fall to night fighters while 2 fall to flak, and 1 is lost in an accident. Based off radio intercepts and crew reports, Bomber Command can only estimate 3 losses to fighters, 2 losses to flak, and the rest to unknown causes. RAF jamming effectiveness is again noted as having interrupted German defenses. Joseph Goebbels receives news of the raid during a gathering with Hitler.
In the course of the late evening, we received news that Nuremberg has suffered a heavy air attack. The Fuhrer is very concerned about the fate of the city. I called Nuremberg twice to get a report. The damage is not as great as we had first feared. The Fuhrer had General Bodenschatz brought out of bed to give him the most serious reproaches about the air war. He was with Göring, and, on behalf of the Fuhrer, informed him of the grave concerns the Fuhrer had about the developments of the air war. In any case, the Fuhrer is extremely dissatisfied with the current state of affairs, and he expresses his displeasure in the most open-hearted manner. The Fuhrer rightly takes the position that we must intervene in the air war under all circumstances. We can no longer afford to let this question drag on. It would result in a very serious collapse of morale, apart from the material damage that would be done by it.